Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Friday Ramblings, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. We are going to do a little bit of a kind of catch-all, quick dab here and there into things because, well, this particular episode is airing on my birthday. That is right, I was born Friday, March 19th. It wasn't necessarily Friday, but this year it's on a Friday, but I was born March 19th, 1982. And this episode, as I just said, is this year, March 19th is on a Friday, and this episode is airing on my birthday. So instead of just kind of doing one subject, I thought I would kind of focus more on the things that influenced everything I do with the Ramblings, influenced who I am, you know, the stuff that's always just made me happy. Because it's my birthday, and I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to mumble and stumble over words, because I don't do a script on this. I don't have a teleprompter. So I'm going to stumble, mumble just my words, and that's okay, because it's my birthday vlog, my birthday ramblings. But yeah, it's just I couldn't think of one thing I wanted to do, but I didn't want to get super like personal and deep because, you know, this is supposed to be about pop culture stuff at the end of the day, the things that entertain us. And so that was my idea, was I'm just going to kind of cover a little bit of a whole lot of stuff that throughout the many years I've been around have, you know, stuck with me and kind of influenced the entertainment I'm interested in. Fact is, growing up in the 80s and 90s, especially the 80s when I was really young, and, you know, those first impressions started kicking in and firmly implanting themselves in my mind, that was cartoons. You know, we had the classics, you know, your Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies. We had the old Disney shorts with Mickey and Donald and Goofy and Minnie Mouse. The Disney movies, obviously, but, you know, we had all your old Hanna-Barberas, you know, Yogi Bear, we had Scooby Doo, the Laugh Olympics, the Wacky Races. Thank you. I had to think for a second. Yeah, Wacky Races. You know, there was all the Scooby Doo spin-off, well, not spin-off so much, but copycat shows like Josie and the Pussycats, which I found out many years after seeing the cartoon was actually part of the Archie comics, but they took the characters and added in the Scooby-Doo detective solving stuff because that Scooby-Doo was a big thing and had been for years at that point. There was the Jabberjaw one, which was not a great show, but, you know, for a little kid at the time, it worked. The basic idea of it is it's Scooby-Doo underwater, except instead of a dog, it's a shark who sounds a little bit like Curly from Three Stooges and borrows the no respect punchline from Rodney Dangerfield. So it's a very oddball mix of like 3 or 4 different characters put together. But as people know from watching this channel for a long time, I do love my sharks. I've always been fascinated by them. So as weak as the writing got on Jabberjaw at times, I was always willing to watch it. But we also had your iconic shows, many of which have gotten remastered and rebooted and readapted and remade and re-everything in recent years, like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I remember watching that growing up. It's a very odd show. I wasn't super intensely into it, but I did watch it at times. I do have memories of it. They did a remake in the early 2000s. There was, there was Voltron. I do remember Voltron. Mostly the lions. I don't remember much about the vehicle-based show, but, a lot of us American audiences, we weren't really digging the vehicle-based show, but yeah, the five lions merging together to make the super robot, that I had distinct memories of, which is why I found it very hilarious. And that when Power Rangers came out, that was one of their big things, is they had 5 big robots that turned into one big humanoid robot. Even though they weren't 5 lions, they were separate animals, because that was like the first thing I saw when I saw the first episode of Power Rangers and the Zords was, oh dude, it's like Voltron, that, where they combine together and have the huge robot. And then I found out that, yeah, it's all from Japan, and it was the same basic idea where they would take footage from shows and splice and edit and Americanize it. That came years later, but Power Rangers was more of a later childhood. But I do remember I watched Power Rangers a lot, and because it was a mix of, like, it reminded me of Voltron. It reminded me of the old Godzilla movies, which I was aware of. I hadn't really watched a lot of yet. I didn't get super into Godzilla until later in life, but I knew of Godzilla. They had the Godzilla cartoon where it was like the Godzuki. And I saw that. I would watch that. That would show up on in the syndication and episode reruns. But we also had this book at the library. It was part of a series on, like, movie monsters in general. But there was one volume that was about the various Godzilla movies that had, at that point, had been imported to America. And so reading that book gave me a quick intro into Godzilla and Mothra and Rodan and Ghidorah. Oh, I love King Ghidorah. Like that is my favorite monster. I was so happy to see him show up in Legendary Pictures' recent Godzilla King of the Monsters as the big villain, because that was always his role. In any Godzilla continuity, he is, he's the one that tends to always come closest to challenging Godzilla for that title of King of the Monsters and give him the hardest fight. So, and I think he was the villain of the Mothra trilogy spin-off films. He is a big time player. But, and I was aware of that stuff. There was, G.I. Joe, officially G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. Because, yes, for you hardcore G.I. Joe fans, I do recognize that there was G.I. Joe lines preceding what most of us in modern times think of as G.I. Joe, which was in the toy line and in the cartoon officially called A Real American Hero. But yeah, I watched that cartoon a lot growing up. I was a big G.I. Joe fan. We had G.I. Joe figures. I mean, everybody I know had G.I. Joe figures. I mean, that was the thing for a few years there, was G.I. Joe. It technically it had 2 cartoon series, because I'm gonna do the real quick base on this, because I'm bouncing around here and giving you quick previews of everything here. But for those of you who don't know, the classic G.I. Joe cartoon ran, hold on one side, I do have a few notes here to keep me straight on this. Ran from 83 to 86 and was 95 episodes. And it was produced by, where's that production company? It was produced by Sunbow in cooperation with Marvel Productions and Toei Animation. But then, like, a couple years later, from 89 to 1992, there was a sequel series done by Dick Enterprises, or Deke. It's spelled D-I-C. The little thing at the end would go Deke. So, Sunbow Productions was still involved, but Marvel Productions and Toei Animation was not. So there is a shift in the animation, but because there is a bit of a continuity connection, generally, like, I think a lot of, like, the home releases and the streams and stuff, streaming services, will treat it as just one extended length show, which, I mean, I'm neither here nor there. It is what it is. And there was a theatrical movie in the middle. God, I remember when that theatrical movie came out, I was so, like, woo! I was like, oh my god, G.I. Joe on the big screen. And, you know, they introduced Serpentor and Cobra-La! What was it? Globulus. And they tried to kill Duke. The last minute edit saved Duke. Which, I'll go real quick into his backstory because it factors into something else I'm going to mention in a little bit. You know, there was the animated theatrical Transformers movie, and that came out as part of the classic cartoon, which I'm going to definitely talk on more in a minute because that was another big thing in my childhood, was Transformers. But it was done by the same production companies that were doing G.I. Joe, which makes sense because they were both Hasbro licenses, and they were both being worked on at the same time. The Transformers movie came out first, and when Optimus Prime died in that, the fan reaction was so much more intense than the producers thought it would be, and there was so many people emotionally distraught over Optimus Prime being dead that they immediately went to the guys working on G.I. Joe from, it's like, no, we changed our mind. We can't kill Duke. Like, we're getting heat for this. Like, we people are pissed at us for killing Optimus Prime. If we kill Duke right after it, it's like, it's going to be game over, folks. Like, we cannot do this twice in rapid succession. So when you watch the G.I. Joe movie, like, if you watch it as an adult and who's aware of, like, how stuff can be edited in and changed at the last minute, it's very obvious. Because you see Duke, he gets this, you know, wound to his chest, he's down, everybody's sad, they're talking about, you know, oh, we gotta, you know, get this final battle done, we gotta do it for Duke, you know, we had to do this without Duke. And then at the last seconds of the movie, after they save the day, it's panning out, so you see all the crowds of G.I. Joe members, but you can't see any mouths. So you don't see any mouths whether they're moving or not. You just hear the one of the G.I. Joe members say, basically, it's essentially a voiceover narration. Oh yeah, it's cool. Duke totally woke up out of his coma. We promise he's going to be healthy, even though we're not showing anything on screen. I mean, obvious last second edit cop out for the idea that they were originally going to kill Duke to put more emphasis on the new characters they had introduced in the movie, which, yeah, it just makes that last scene unintentionally hilarious when, you know, you see it as an adult and you get why it's done that way. Like, as a kid, we're just like, oh, thank God Duke's alive. Thank God we're still going to have Duke. Yay, you know, there's good in the world, but yeah, at the time, it's going back and watching it, and I went back and rewatched that movie a couple years ago just because I was able to watch it. Yeah, as I said, thanks to things like rental services and online streaming options and stuff. You can watch things you have not watched in 20 and 30 years, and it hadn't been quite that long for the G.I. Joe movie. It's one of those things, like, I watch it about every 10, 12 years, and it just... There's a lot of good stuff done in it. There's a lot of stuff they did very well, but that whole... No, you don't know who said it, because you don't see anybody talking, narration style cry of, Duke's okay! It is just unintentionally hilarious. It's like, God, you guys really did, like, make that decision at the last possible second. So, but that's not super secret information. That was something that was discussed in interviews and is out on the internet all over the place now. So I'm not, like, telling tales. I'm not gossiping. I'm not spreading rumors. It is legit. They were going to do it, and they changed their mind last second because of the fallout from Optimus Prime dying. And again, Transformers. That was a thing. Everybody watched Transformers. Everybody had at least a couple Transformer toys. They were robots in disguise. The Transformers movie. I mean, oh my God, just the voice cast. I mean, it's like the last thing Orson Welles did was voicing the villain. God, totally mind just blank there. I'm thinking, I wouldn't say Galvatron, but not that. That was the reborn Megatron. It was, I feel so stupid. Any other time I could say this name. Now I gotta look it up. This is what I do. This is what happens, folks. Unicron. There we go. Unicron. That's the word I was trying to look for. Yeah. But you also had, people who were big at the time. Robert Stack, who, was also the host of Unsolved Mysteries, and that, Unsolved Mysteries, that show at America's Most Wanted. It was like, nowadays we have entire networks that talk about, true crime cases and unsolved murders, but if you wanted to get a peek of how crazy the world was, those were the two shows you had to watch when I was growing up. Was Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted. Maybe Cops, but Cops being, shorter at 30 minutes and tending to be more raw footage with just a little bit of narration, it tended to come off a little more comedic. Especially because a lot of time in Cops, they would just, you'd focus on things like the drunk drivers and the guys, drugged out of their gourd. So, Cops just recently ended. Like, Cops was on the air for an incredible amount of years. But yeah, Cops was around. Those... that was the stuff you watched in prime time because your older siblings or your parents had the remote, and that's what they wanted to watch. This was a time period where, you did not, you didn't have a TV in every other room in the house that had full, cable access, and obviously streaming internet, streaming services weren't a thing, but it's like, you might have one TV in the house that had, your channel options. Maybe if, there was a hand-me-down TV, you'd have a couple. But no, this whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, we got like we got like 3 kids, each with their own bedroom, each with their own TV, and then there's one in the living room, and we have one in our bedroom. I think, like, later in my life, my parents and I got to that point, but I mean, the one I had in my room for years was there primarily to play my video games. I got cable in there, but it didn't, it was an old, it was an older TV. It was, as I said, it was not a brand spanking new top of the line TV. It was, the first one I had in my room to play video games on, it had the two knobs. It had the pull button, power button. It had rabbit ears. I loved it. I loved having it. I am not dissing anything. But, that's the thing and God bless modern manufacturing and technology that TVs are affordable enough that, people can have multiple, brand new TVs in their house without breaking the bank and stuff. It's a thing. But yeah, I had TVs with dials and switches and rabbit ears. But Transformers, man, that Transformers movie was insane. I actually own it on DVD. I like watching it every few years because it's the voice acting is insane. Just like seeing how many just big name voice. Leonard Nimoy was on there. This was at a time they were making the theatrical Star Trek movies. It's not like he was hurting for work. They had Eric Idle was Retgar, and at the time I didn't really know who Eric Idle was. I hadn't gotten into Monty Python yet, but he was a great voice actor, and just it was they did not shy away from getting celebrity voices for that movie. And then you had the Ninja Turtles, man. Woo, scratchy beard. Did not have scratchy beard in childhood. But, the Ninja Turtles. I'm still a fan of the Ninja Turtles. I like the live action movies. That was a huge thing. When the first live action movie came out, it just, blew my mind. It was just all over the place. I just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I had the soundtrack to it. The idea of the Ninja Turtles not being animated, being out there, the big puppet suits. I just did a video talking about that movie trilogy, so I'm not going to focus too hard on that thing. But the cartoon series preceding it, I was all over it. I'm sitting here watching it every day on TV. I had multiple action figures. I had the NES game. I eventually, when it came out, got the NES port of the arcade game. But I remember before that going to the arcade and playing it, putting the quarters in the machine and just loving it. Just couldn't stop playing it because it was the Ninja Turtles. It's just that has been a thing. There was, I hit that point in time that, kind of everybody does. That first major burst of adolescence where you just shove everything childhood aside. And, I kind of fell out, which made sense because the Ninja Turtles themselves entered a, kind of like Transformers, entered a point where it wasn't really a big thing. But then when I got older, I started, I watched the live action movies again for the first time in years, and newer cartoons started coming out, and the CGI movie came out, and it just kind of, the old passions reignited. Eventually I came across the IDW comic, and that just that clicked everything. But yeah, growing up, man, the Ninja Turtles, and it was Donatello. I was a kid that was good in school. I liked, learning stuff. So the Genius Turtle Donatello was 100% up my alley. And that was my childhood, man. And Ghostbusters. God, I gotta talk about Ghostbusters. I remember the live action movies, but for a real little kid, it was the real Ghostbusters cartoon. That was the thing that really dug deep into my brain. I was huge on cartoons as a kid, as you can tell, because it's the only thing we're really discussing is the cartoons, because it's just, I had the video games, I played the video games, I had books I read, I had Legos I played with, but those cartoons, all the cartoon series had action figure tie-ins, and I had the action figures, and I would do the crossovers. The G.I. Joes would play with the Ninja Turtles, would play with Legos. I'd build little Lego buildings, but it was just, it was a thing. But yeah, Ghostbusters. I had Ghostbusters figures. I had the toy backpack with, it would shoot the little foam out, because, you couldn't have an actual laser beam. That would be dangerous. That's not a kid's toy. But it shot little foam things out, and you could, shoot little cardboard ghosts with it. But yeah, I had the action figures, and I remember I had, there was, a car. It was like a little, like a V-Wee, like a yellow V-Wee, and it'd pop up, and there'd be this little green ghost monster underneath it. There was a postman guy, and you press a little button, and his stomach popped up, and there was a huge mouth. There was, I had this purple skinned zombie. There were several really interesting ghost characters. They were very unique designs. They weren't big players on the cartoon series. They were just made for the toys, even though the toys were based off the cartoon series. Because there wasn't a lot of iconic ghosts. Almost all the ghosts were one-offs. I think the Halloween spirit came back a couple times. Slimer was there, but he was the good guy ghost. But otherwise, it was all just one-off ghosts. But I do have on DVD box set of the real Ghostbusters, along with a DVD box set of the Transformers cartoon, along with the Transformers movie, which I did say I had. Those are things I bought, as an adult. And yes, I've watched them, and it's, the cartoons hold up. It's, it's a thing. I have them as much for collector's value as for viewing value. But I have rewatched the cartoons as an adult. I enjoy them. I can definitely see why that they hooked me so much as a kid. But they, it was... I can look at them now and say, yeah, it's not the most intelligent writing in the world. But, that's what I said. It's like I said earlier, when you're a little kid, you don't need the smartest writing in the world. And I don't know. But they are fun to watch. They are good to go back and watch. There's some highlight episodes of the Ghostbusters cartoon that when I went back and watched them, it was the first time I'd seen those episodes in 15, 20 years. And it was some of the stuff's really actually written really well. And, some of the episodes, especially in the last couple, last season or so, it's they're getting kind of cheesy, but, there were some episodes that were, even as an adult, I'm watching, I'm going, this is still a little kind of creepy. and so it was all good. Like this, that's the thing is that's what I watched everything as a kid that was cartoons. The old stuff that was still on TV. Oh, the Flintstones. Flintstones was still on TV all over the place. But the old cartoons, they kept being aired in reruns. The stuff that was new. And, you know, I said you get into, and then you get into stuff like the Disney Afternoon with Tailspin and Darkwing Duck. Oh, God, I was so into Darkwing Duck. For like 4 or 5 years there. That was right there at the top. That was a little bit later on, kind of as I think Transformers had kind of started, G.I. Joe had started dying down. There was still a little bit of Ninja Turtles love, but yeah, Darkwing Duck picked up the pace, and, you know, Tailspin and the Rescue Rangers, which again, they all had video game adaptations. I didn't own all the video games, but between me and my cousin, we owned most of them. We never had the Tailspin video game. But like he had Rescue Rangers, I had Darkwing Duck. You know, I said I had the first 2 Ninja Turtles, so they were all good. It was, you know, that was my childhood. That's the stuff that made me who I am, and that's why I still talk about this stuff to this day. Is, you know, it was the wrestling was there. I didn't get super hard into wrestling until my teenage years. Around the time of when the Attitude Era was starting in WWF. But, you know, I had, you know, memories of Hogan and Savage in the old WWF. You know, I watched that for a few years. Kind of fell out of it, but yeah, I really got into that more as a teenager. But I've gone back and I watched the old stuff from before the Attitude Era too. I'll watch wrestling from any decade, any territory nowadays, because over the years the wrestling love's just grown and grown. But yeah, when I was a kid, man, it was all about the cartoons. You know, I said there was some live, you know, you'd see the live action stuff. You know, you watch with your parents and your older siblings. You know, obviously we had stuff like Sesame Street when you're, you know, super little, but, you know, we lied. But yeah, I was a cartoon kid. I was a cartoon kid growing up. I had the video games, but most of my toys were the toys of the cartoon characters. As I said, I had Legos, and I loved my Legos. To this day, I still do. I really wish they would get away from all the licensing and just of other people's works and focus more on their original sets and letting children, you know, develop their own imagination and just, you know, build whatever they want. You know, that's the thing. Those freebie sets where it's like, look, here's just a ton of blocks in different colors. That was my Lego. The whole licensing thing really didn't kick in until after I got older, and it doesn't work as much for me. It's a good idea, but Lego leans a little too hard into it for my taste. That's kind of my modern adult take, but you know what? That's what I'm saying. That's the thing. That's who I am. You know, that's why we talk about this stuff, because that was my childhood, and it was a great childhood. I loved it. You know, I said a little farther, you go into the 90s, there was, you know, the X-Men cartoon, Batman the Animated Series, which, of course, launched the whole DC Animated Universe, shared universe thing with Superman and Batman Beyond. Oh, I love Batman Beyond. Actually, like, I'm gonna give the controversial take. Now, again, I was a little older by the time it came around, but actually, to this day, I like Batman Beyond more than the actual Batman the Animated Series. I love just the legacy concept of it, and having Bruce Wayne as an old man mentoring the younger kid, you know, seeing Batman as somebody who has to work more for it and is challenged more, like that's one of those things that I really hate about the modern Batman in the comics is he's too much of an A-lister. I don't feel like most people really legitimately threaten Batman because it's just become a thing. You know, the meme is Batman always wins. You know, like when that animated series first came out, you know, that wasn't the meme yet. There was some. I mean, watching those episodes, I generally was not sure how Batman was going to win. So, you know, that whole Batman always wins things came up like that came up a little later. That was like late 90s and stuff. They really started pushing hard on that, and it's just, to me, it takes something away. Like I like my Batman, you know, more like Spider-Man, where he's vulnerable. He gets his butt handed to him sometimes. You know, he wins by just more of sheer stubbornness than just badassness and being skilled in everything. Like I never liked that. I never liked that, you know, master of all trades. It's jack of all trades, master of none, not master of all trades. It just it takes away the normal human element of Batman. It's like, well, if you take away the normal human element of him, you might as well just give him superpowers. But I don't know. That's a little bit of a different debate. So, you know, it's a thing. This has been my birthday blog, my birthday vlog, my birthday ramblings of Friday. And, you know, that's my cartoon history. I don't really... You know, I remember some of the other cartoons that were, you know, aimed at more feminine appeal. You know, the My Little Pony, Gem and the Holograms, Rainbow Bright, Care Bears. You know, I did enjoy Care Bears. I liked... especially the Care Bear cousins, where it was the different animals, but they still had the same Care Bear powers. And yeah, I remember the two classic Care Bear theatrical movies. Those, I enjoyed watching those. Those, for what they were very well written. But yeah, Care Bear cousins. You know, they had like the elephant and the lion. That was good. I will admit, yeah, I watched some Care Bears. I was aware of Rainbow Bright and Strawberry Shortcake. Yeah, that was the other one. That was aware of it. Didn't really get into it too much, but it was out there at the time. So, you know, Gem and the Holograms. I admit I watched a few episodes, mostly because I was fascinated by the whole computer and the disguise thing. It was very superheroic. But, you know, I don't know what else to say except it's my birthday, so I'm going to have some ice cream. I'm going to have some cake. Although I do like pie as well, but birthday pie just doesn't have the same appeal to it. Gotta be some birthday cake. So I'm going to go enjoy that. And you enjoy this video. You enjoy the rest of your day. And hopefully you come back in 7. We're going to get a little more to business as usual with our tighter focus episodes. As I said, this one taking a little easier on my birthday with the just cavalcade of cartoon memories couldn't think of a synonym for memories that started with C. Alliteration failure. But, you know, it's all good. Got my wrestling shirt on, Gallows and Anderson. Haha. Good brothers. So, I'll see you in 7. Because I'm going to ramble, even though I am now a little bit older. It doesn't matter because I am young at heart. And you can be too if you follow our simple rules to enjoy your entertainment, criticize constructively, and don't hate somebody just because they have different opinions and tastes than you, especially over pop culture, because it's all supposed to be fun. It's the lighthearted side to life. So, have a great year from here. And next go round, I can't promise what I'll do on the birthday of 2022. You'll have to tune in to find out.